information station, 1370 WOCA.
WOCA.
All right, 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. I apologize to everybody for running long with the last show. We were having fun with the last show, though. Robin, every once in a while somebody will say to me, my dog is so smart. You should see what my cat is so, you're not going to believe how smart my hamster is. Yeah. And and people will do that with their children, too. A new parent, you and I are, I guess you would say, seasoned parents. Your children are both in their 30s.
Yep,
my son
mid-30s.
is 20. My son is 27.
Yep.
And I say that for the sake of our guest, so she knows where we stand in our parenting, because this is a little bit segment right now about parenting. But once in a while, a new parent, and I love this, actually. I'm not making fun of this. A new mom, a new dad will say, you're not going to believe how smart Johnny is. Mm-hmm. You're not going to believe. He saw the ball on the other end of the room, and he knew that was his ball.
That's right.
That's probably not a good example. But I always think that is very sweet. I love hearing that, but he is a human after all.
Yes.
And he is able to learn, and you were there too, and that's one of the gifts God gave most living things is we have intelligence, maybe different degrees. But what is really cool is listening to people talk about their children. What is often a question, though, is how they talk to their children.
Right.
You and I have had this discussion. You just for our guest again, Robin and I are not a married couple. She has her children, I have mine, and when we discussed the raising of children at one point, we shared notes, I guess. And the one thing we agreed on was we never, when the children were little, engaged in baby talk.
No, not at all.
Now I do that with my guinea pig.
Yeah, that's my guinea pig.
Melinda Blau is on the phone. She's written a very insightful book. It is on the New York Times best-selling list, and it is called Family Whispering, The Baby Whisperers, Common Sense Strategies for Communicating and Connecting with the People You Love and Making Your Whole Family Stronger. And this goes beyond just the children in your family.
Yes.
She is on the phone, and let's see what she's got to say. Good morning, Melinda.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And where are you right now?
I'm in sunny Miami.
You're outdoing us.
I don't like to say that when I'm on programs up north, but I have to admit I'm looking out at beautiful, warm blue skies. So I'm very happy. Also happy that my book came out today. It's a big deal.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When you look at the cover of the book, and I don't usually refer to the cover, but I wanted to just for this question. We're looking at several different ethnicities, I guess you would say, on the cover.
Well, not just ethnicities. You're looking at different family forms. There's one family with two men, also.
Yes. Thank you for pointing to that. But I guess the reason I brought up ethnicity is because we can get into the gay parents and as part of this as well. But the different ethnicities. Do we raise our children based on whatever we inherited from whatever country our parents maybe immigrated from, or grandparents? Does that and does it get watered down after generations?
Well, that's a very good question. Now, you have to understand that the way I look at families and parenting is different from the way most parenting authors, if I can call that a group of people do, because I look at the whole family, and I say in the book that there's three factors that make a family what it is, and this includes the parenting. But one of is the individuals. Who are they? So, of course, each individual brings their past, and in that case, the parents, if they're Italian or Jewish, or they're from a war-torn country, or if they're gay, whatever, they bring that to the table. But it's one of only three factors. The other factors are the relationships that the people have, and then the third factor is the context. So whether you're raising children in 1970, which I think you probably did, or raising them in 2014, well, maybe that makes it too early.
Yeah, it's a little bit early for me, yeah.
Maybe it was the 80s.
There might have been some kids during those years, but I never met them.
Okay, all right. Well, whenever you were raising them, I'm sure you look around, as I do, and it's a different climate today. It's a different climate of parenting. So all of those factors plus the schools that you're attached to, the community you live in. Again, the ethnic group plays in because it's not just who the parent is, it's when they go to visit the extended family or being part of an ethnic group. Like, I'm Italian, I like to eat and be with my family. I mean, many of those stereotypes are absolutely true, and they factor into it. But it's only one small piece. There's just so much. Family is very complex, and that was the challenge for me of this book. Which is, how do I break it down? Because all families are different. You can't find any two, even two that look alike on the outside, are not alike.
What is the biggest challenge in what you do, though, in trying to work with families? Is it the broken family?
Well, of course, it's the broken family, and because their context. Usually, the broken family is broken for a number of reasons. One, either one of the individuals might be sick or depressed. One of the relationships might be splintered, such as in divorce, or they could be extremely poor, which makes it very difficult for a family to keep their head above water. So that's the biggest problem probably facing this country today, is how to support all families, because some families are really they're behind the eight ball before they begin. But I'm a journalist, so the biggest challenge for me was figuring how to write about it and figuring out how to give parents the tools to look at their particular family, because if you don't know what your family is like, you can't change what you don't know.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out is that the book is written with Tracy Hogg, and Tracy is no longer with us, correct?
Right. Tracy died in 2004, shortly before our third book came out. But we had planned this book because our first three books were about babies and toddlers. And both of us knew that once you're out of the baby and toddler stage, even though it seems like a nightmare when you're in it, that's when the real challenges begin, the challenge of managing a family. So we always knew that that's where we were going to go after the first three books. And Tracy and I talked about the book and outlined it, and I had some notes, and then I really finished it without her. I often say to people, and you may think me strange to say this, but I felt like I channeled her while I was writing the book.
Oh, really?
We had spent so much time together, and I had watched her in so many actual live cases and talked to her for so many years and written 3 books with her that I really knew the baby whispering philosophy inside out. And that's what I brought to this book as well, because the philosophy, as the long subtitle says, is very common sense. It's about respecting your child, accepting the child you have, not the one you wish you have. But in this case, we also say accept the partner you have and not the one you wish you have.
Yeah.
Because this book covers, because we're talking about family, it covers all relationships, not just the children.
I want to tell you a little story, Melinda. This goes back years and years ago. I worked for the state of Florida, and I was considered what was it called back then? A community youth leader. That was my fancy title. And what it really meant was that children, youthful offenders that were on house arrest needed to be in the house, and I was supposed to show up unannounced to make sure they were there. And if they weren't, then they went back to the detention center. So that's the extent of my job. I wasn't any kind of a therapist. Right. However, I want to tell you about a therapist, because there was a child, and he was one boy out of 5 children. I can't remember how many girls, how many sons. And there was a father and a mother. And so the family therapist wanted me to attend a meeting that she was having with them. The middle child was the one that was arrested, the one in trouble. Right. He was a boy. And so I sat there with them, and I basically didn't say much, but I listened. And I want to tell you what the therapist, it was a man. Did I say she earlier? It was a man therapist. And he said to the family, he was talking to them, and he said to the middle child, the one in trouble, he asked a couple questions, and then later on dismissed everybody and spoke to the husband and wife by themselves. And I was there too. And he said to the wife, "Are you and your husband getting along?" And she said, "No, not at all." And he said, "I know. I figured it out. The middle son looks exactly like your husband. The middle son is the one you're treating differently. The middle son is the one acting out and getting arrested."
Right.
And he figured it out. It was like, whoa.
Well, I love that story, and it's perfect for my book because the book, I don't go into the psychological and the theoretical underpinnings of the book, but it really is systems theory, which is what family therapy is based on, and it holds that in family therapy they call that one child the identified patient, but really the whole family is ailing. There's an issue there that is not just in the child. And I deal with that a lot in the book. I have one story about a kid who's diagnosed with ADD. And, the parents are tearing their hair out and they're really angry at him and everything. And I talk about the fact that they also have to look at their behavior. They have to look at the dynamics between the two siblings because the other child was being positioned as the angel. And she could get away with murder because her brother had ADD and they were yelling at him. So it's really important. It's never, there was a book years ago, a very famous child rearing book, Between You and Your Child. It's never just between you and your child. It's sometimes, in fact, it's also the people in your head. You could be parenting and yelling at a child or being nice to the child, and in your head you have your mother or your father. Or you have a teacher that once said something very profound to you. So we bring a lot to the table, and in families, it's a three-ring circus.
So does the reader of the book have the tools with the book to be able to kind of maybe diagnose their own family circumstance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The first part of the book is really about awareness. And I give them, one of the things I suggest, and a lot of people have said this is one of the book's strong features. It's like a workbook as well as a text. And one of the things I suggest to people is to keep a family notebook because I give lots of questions throughout the book to apply to your own family. There's also, in the book, we've left a blank page for notes. So it's really something where it's not hard, but it opens your eyes. And then the second half of the book has real strategies that can help you stay more connected, listen better, have better relationships, know what to do when you're having the same old fight. I mean, I have something in there called the Tell Yourself the Truth mantra, which is you stop in the middle, you look around you, and you say, what's really happening? Have I been here before? Is there something I brought to the table? Whatever. And then you tell yourself the truth about it. You take an action and you move on as opposed to dwelling on it. If the action is wrong, you have another chance to go back again and do it again. But now that sounds very simple. It really, really works. And one of the important pieces of the baby whispering books throughout all three of them, and this one too, is we urge parents to slow down. People are so ready to rush in and rescue their kids and do for them instead of letting them problem solve on their own, instead of letting them fail even. Because it's very important to let kids fail.
That's a tough lesson to learn, isn't it?
It's a tough lesson, but that's what teaches us how to cope with whatever life throws at us.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's just so hard. Like, it's easy to say it, but I think in the parents' footsteps, in the parents' shoes, you realize that that's not easy to do all the time.
Absolutely, and I'm a parent and I'm a grandparent, so I have total empathy for parents. I understand how hard it's to do, but I think if you if you keep your eye on what you're trying to achieve, which is to me, the goal of parenthood should be to create independent, competent, capable kids. Well, they don't come out of the house independent, competent, and capable unless you've given them chances to be that way. And one of the things that I talk about, one of the chapters is called the family co-op. And I say to run the family like a co-op where everyone is a stakeholder. You're part of this family, so you get the benefits of being part of the family, but you also have the responsibility of helping run it. That goes for dad, for the kids. I say dad, and that sounds a little bit sexist, but the thing is, in many of the homes that I interviewed, it's mom who's shouldering most of the burden, especially of the distasteful tasks like vacuuming and doing the laundry. Why can't a 9-year-old do the laundry? There's no reason. And in fact, in the book, I give a a whole list. It's called What They Can Do. And parents would be shocked because they don't let their kids try these things.
Well, can I bring allowances into the conversation?
Absolutely.
For that, is there a point where, let's say, let's bring it to the teenager, the 17-year-old with a car. Okay, 17-year-old with a car, the car breaks down and needs $600 worth of or $1,600 worth of repairs. Do you just give them the $1,600, or how do you do that one?
Okay, well, first of all, you can't take a teenager in isolation. You have to tell me, has that teenager been responsible all along? Did that teenager work to get part of that car? Has that teenager his whole life been communicating with his family and been a part of the family, or did the kid just wear the parents down, buy him a car?
Right.
If the latter, they're going to pay for it. I can tell you, those are the parents that'll just pay for it. If it's the former, they will sit down with the child and say, look, these things happen to everybody. We need to figure out how you're going to pay for it. Because that's real life. Nobody is going to save that kid once he gets to college.
And
no teacher is going to say, oh, God, you stayed out last night and partied. No problem. You can give me your paper next week.
Right.
True. That's true.
So I think you really that's part of the tell yourself the truth. This may be a child who everybody has given everything to his whole life, and he expects the parents to pay for it. So I'm not trying to dodge the question. One of the things you asked about allowance. One of the things I talk about in the book is that families have three major resources: time, money, and energy. And I feel that all three need to be discussed openly as opposed to just given to chance. So money especially is something that parents, I don't want to burden the kids. Dad's having a problem. Mom's having a problem, lost her job. We don't want the kids to worry. Well, they don't have to worry, but they still can get the information. You could say, we didn't see this coming. Mom lost her job. We thought we were going to be able to afford to take a trip to wherever this year, and we just can't do it.
Right.
Let's think together of what we can do instead so that we can have fun around here. And if you talk to kids about money, you won't find a kid leaving a $100 jacket at the playground. Because that kid will know, gee, Mom and Dad worked hard for this. There's no relationship in many families between money and how it got there. Or even food in the refrigerator.
So can you fix the damage if you started out on the wrong track?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you now have a child 27 and 30, you mentioned, so they're probably almost having kids of their own.
And I'm really not referring to our children.
No, but you could buy them the book. You should buy them the book.
But children look for guidance, even though they won't admit it. They'll look for guidance.
Absolutely.
And if that guidance isn't given, when they become adults, they're just going to expect everything from all of the other adults that they come into contact with. Because they feel like they shouldn't have to work for something or even be reasonable. They'll say, I want this, and you have to give it to me.
I want to be very clear about something. I totally agree with you. And when I tell parents that this book will help them feel less guilty because they're just not responsible for as much as they think they're responsible, there's a lot of factors. But also when I tell them to make it a family co-op, they think, yeah, but we're the parents, we're in charge. Well, of course you're in charge, and of course you offer guidance. But then you also step back where it's appropriate, age appropriate, and not so much even age appropriate, ability appropriate, and let your child try to do things. Allow them to really participate. This is not about assigning chores, which people don't do anyway. Because in that way, the parent's in charge and they assign. Instead, sit down as a family and figure out what does it take to run this family. Parents don't do that. They'll sit down with a child and they'll watch a sporting event, say a football game, and they'll explain to the child, this is a first down and he's got to get the ball such and such. So the kid learns how to play football, and if they actually also play football, they have a better command of the game. Why don't we do that with our households? Why don't we teach children what it takes to run? What do we need every day to get breakfast on the table? And think of all the things. And kids love that because they feel like they're doing something grown up.
And sometimes parents think they need to be friends with their children, but that's not the case. They have enough friends. They need a guide for life.
Exactly. And I'm not suggesting either that they're friends. I'm suggesting, however, that they join with them and they partner in a mutual goal, which is let's make this family strong. So it even comes to, say, activities. Now, a lot of parents these days have their kids, every day they go off to a different activity. They have to really sit down with the kids and say, are we spending enough time together as a family? Mom's off in her book club one night, Dad plays tennis, this has practice, that kid has a sport. And to do these things consciously, I'm not against activities. I think they're wonderful for children. But do them consciously. Do we have the time for this? Do we have the money for this? Do we have the energy for this?
I used to call my son my best friend. I used to say, I'm your best friend, so I don't know.
Yeah, but you're still a parent, though. You didn't, relinquish that part of the parent. Me either.
Right.
I was friends to my kids, but I didn't relinquish that parent part.
So let me ask you, Melinda, the person who picks up the book probably has a reason to pick up the book. And let's just say it's the mom. She picks up the book. How easy is it going to be for her to understand and digest the advice you give in the book and then assimilate it into the family, to the father, her husband, and the
That's
the
a great question. Well, first of all, I'm hoping that this is a book, and I purposely wrote it this way. I'm hoping this is a book. If the father doesn't read it, he won't be turned off by it, and she'll be able to show him things in the book and say, what do you think about this idea? Second of all, I say in the book, you may say, oh, I'm not going to get my kids to cooperate, my husband's never going to cooperate, forget it. But I believe, and I've seen this happen, if even one person starts to change their attitude, it affects the rest of the family. So none of the ideas in this book are that radical. And so parents should not, and they're not hard either. It's a very, very accessible, simple book to read, and anybody who's read the Baby Whisperer books knows that that's true also. But here we're talking, and you ask a really legitimate question, because we're talking about the whole unit.
Yeah.
So I talk about in the book, there's 4 qualities. The Baby Whisperer books, I don't know if you probably didn't have them when your kids were little. They came out around the early 2000s. We always had acronyms in the book, because we feel it's easier for parents to remember. And so the acronym for this book is REAL, which stands for Responsibility, Empathy, Authenticity, and Leading with Love. And those are the qualities that an individual needs to really shape a good family and to be part of a good family. So adults practice it and children learn it. And I have step-by-step how you model it, how you become a power of example for your kids, and, if necessary, for your husband. So if the woman who picks up this book picks it up because she's pulling her hair out, she's exhausted, she's stressed, she feels like, oh my God, I'm doing everything in this family and no one helps me and nobody's ever going to, and she's ready to slit her wrists. And she comes from that kind of extreme. I'm taking an extreme.
Right.
If she works on, for example, with the responsibility piece, she's over-responsible. She doesn't need any more responsibility. But she has to learn how to ask for help, to need rather than nag, because what happens in most of these families is either the woman takes it, and then explodes over something ridiculous, like he leaves his socks on the floor, but it's been building up for weeks. Or she just takes it and she gets sick herself, because it's unfair. It's just plain unfair that the burden falls on one person.
Wow.
So the empathy piece, though, is for her to understand, okay, I have to put myself in my husband's shoes. Let's start with the adult relationship. He comes home late. He's tired. If I've been yelling at him, he's going to close his ears off more. Maybe there's another way of being more empathic to his situation and meeting him where he is. And there usually is. And again, I give guidance in the book about how to do that.
The book is called Family Whispering, and it's kind of like having a family therapist at your disposal anytime you want.
That's true.
Melinda Blau wrote the book with Tracy Hogg, who is the late Tracy Hogg. And one of these days we'll have to ask you more about her, but we've run out of time. Let me give the book away that I have. You sent me a nice hardcover book, so if I have a listener out there that would like it, call me. It'll be waiting for you here. The number is 622-9622. Melinda, do you have a website, and how else can we get the book?
Okay, my website is under construction. Should be by the end of the week. It should be on up and live. In the meantime, for those on Facebook, I have Melinda Blau, author. They can look for information about the book there. It should be in every bookstore, and it's, of course, on Amazon and other online venues. And today's the sale date, so raise a glass of champagne, because I really hope, this is my hope for this book, that it really will change us from being such a child-centered to a family-centered culture, because the child-centered model is not doing children too much good, and it's ruining parents' marriages.
Hello?
And hello?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. That's a listen. Just hold on a second. Go ahead. You finish, Melinda.
No. So I'm just saying we'll all be better off if we're family-centered.
Okay. The person saying hello is the person who gets the book. Good morning. Who is this?
Oh, hey, my name is Lafayette Hodges.
Say your name again.
Lafayette Hodges.
Lafayette Hodges. Do you know where we are, Lafayette?
No.
Okay, we're in the Paddock Mall, just outside of the food court.
Oh, okay, yes, I do know where you are.
Okay, and the book.
Lafayette, can I just say something to her?
Go ahead.
I would love you to let me know how you love the book.
Oh, and I certainly will.
I don't know. Are you on Facebook? If not, I'll give you my email.
Okay. I think we're
Yes, I am on Facebook.
Okay, so look for Melinda Blau, author, and let me know how the book is doing and how you like it.
Okay.
There you go, Lafayette. It'll be waiting for you here at the studios at the Paddock Mall, just outside the food court. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's such a great thing to do. Thank you.
And I would tell you an epilogue to my story. The boy who was a juvenile delinquent went on to become not a juvenile. He became better just because of somebody who had the skills that you have, Melinda, somebody who knew how to recognize what the real problem was and addressed it. It was such an amazing thing to witness, which is why I knew right away when listening to the pitch to have you on the show. Who was her publicist, Robert? Oh, Nancy?
Nancy and Elise, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are doing such a great job. Thank you so much, Melinda, for being on the air with us today.
Thank you so much, and I love that idea. You see, everybody can be a family whisperer. It's a practice like yoga. You just have to get better at it. You keep getting better at it.
And you're our coach. You are the coach. Melinda, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you for being on with us today.
I'd love to come back. Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Frederick's Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Frederick's Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Frederick's Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Frederick's Appliance.
Hi, Danny Werfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs.